Welcome to the 1998 Benicia Race the Straits Offshore Grand Prix in Benicia, California, giving you small-town America becoming offshore powerboat haven for a weekend. I'm Kent Justice, your host here on Speed Vision. Greg Reichman joining you. Nice to see you, Greg. It's been about 7 weeks since we got out into the waters and raced. And what did racers do in that lag time?
Kent, 7 weeks goes awfully fast when you're repairing fiberglass and fixing ruined engines. We had a lot of damage in Oceanside, a very rough. Well, that's what offshore is all about, but sometimes the water is just almost so big that you can't even deal with it. And we were right on the edge in Oceanside, so we have 7 weeks to repair that. You also have to go through every nut and bolt on the boat. We call that the rigging, all the cables and gauges, all the electrical connectors. It takes a tremendous amount of time to do that properly. And of course, we're halfway through the season now. You can't afford to make a mistake if you're thinking about winning a championship, so you've got to take the time. All these teams do, and it's real good if you finish Benicia because you're the 4th race out of 8. You can't afford to miss finishing this race.
That's right. And if you're thinking about winning this race, you've got to do a different setup than you've done in the first 3 races. Pacific Ocean racing, different than what you're doing here.
We're really looking at abuse on engines in Benicia because you're full throttle for about 80% of this course. You're going to see the oil temperature go up, water temperature is going to go up. You got to take care of the engine in Benicia. In Dana Point and Oceanside, the big water races, we're worried about trim pumps breaking in half and other parts that are hung in the bilge, parts of the rigging again. But here in Benicia, we're worried about an engine, so you've got to take care of it. The throttlemen know that. They'll be staring at the oil temp gauge. It's exciting full throttle racing, especially in classes like modified, where you're going to see 140 miles per hour out on the ocean. It'll be very exciting.
Yeah, 140 miles an hour. They're worried about taking care of the engines. Racers don't have to worry about who's taking care of them. Benicia is. This marks the 5th time that Pacific Offshore has come to race on the waters off Benicia. Located some 40 miles to the east of San Francisco, Benicia is a modest, small town that, like in years past, enjoys playing host to the racers of Pacific Offshore. Here is where the season title can be made or broken with just 3 races ahead: Huntington Beach, Pittsburgh, and Ventura. So teams will need to start managing their equipment wisely if they want a shot at the year-end title. Teams will spend a majority of their time testing and tuning in anticipation of the race ahead. For some, the anticipation is more of a test than the actual race. Like in years past, race chairman Rob Storley, the owner and driver of the B9 Magic Potion team, he also happens to call Benicia home, and he has once again put on a tremendous event along with the assistance of many, including the Benicia Yacht Club and the city of Benicia. Building upon the success from last year and once again looking to return something to the community, Storley has once again made the Muscular Dystrophy Association a major benefactor of this event.
I feel very lucky in my life, and this is my way of showing or giving back to some kids that aren't as fortunate as myself and my family. Last night we had a fundraiser barbecue auction and raised over $11,000 for MDA.
When we return to race number 4 of the 1998 Pacific Offshore Championship Series, the racers go for the green. Stay with us because the excitement is just about to get underway.
Hi, I'm Jason Curtis.
Hi, I'm Ben Curtis with Runnin' Wild M19.
You're going to watch us go for the checkered flag next on Speed Vision.
Coverage of race number 4 of the 1998 Pacific Offshore Championship Series is brought to you by Entrepreneur Magazine, by Jelly Belly, the original gourmet jelly bean, by Teague Custom Marine, your high-performance parts source, by Ettore Products and the Streak-Free Squeegee Guarantee, by Honker Cut Marine, your high-performance boating setter right on the Delta, by Kevin's Quality Marine, professional yacht transportation services, and by Power Tees and Offshore Gear, offshore excitement you can wear. Welcome back as Entrepreneur Magazine presents coverage of race number 4 of the 1998 Pacific Offshore Championship Series. Greg Reichman, what are the racers going to see in Benicia today?
Kent, you're going to see a lot of flat water in Benicia. Normally we're used to ocean venues like Dana Point and Oceanside. Here in Benicia, it's very calm today. Sunday morning, the teams are going to be dealing with full throttle racing. An hour and 15 minutes. Barely letting up on the throttle. We're looking for a lot of heat in the engines and heat in the drives. That's what kills them. Got to be real careful. The throttlemen are going to have to watch the gauges very carefully.
Well, as we get ready to go racing, one of the great things about our show, we get to go on board and see what's actually happening inside the cockpits of these incredible racing machines. Right now, we're going on board with A711, Greg Reichman and John Granis.
Switching to the modified class, Kent, we are on board with M7. That's the Jelly Belly Jelly Bean entry. Rick Bowling on board and Brian Connors sitting right next to him.
All right, also racing in modified today, Honker Cut Marine. Here's Rod Kernoffel and John Bias getting ready.
And in the B class, Kent, we're on board today with Streak Free. Smolik and Richardson hoping to take the win in Benicia.
All right, Greg, we know what racers are looking for, what kind of conditions they'll face. Tell me about the course itself.
Kent, you've got left and right-hand turns, but they're mostly left-handers. They can all be swept. In other words, you really don't have to slow down all that much for any of these turns if you don't want to. Different styles of driving. You're going to see people taking it both ways, but it's really a safe course, a lot of room to pass. You're never really challenged by either the land or having to group together right next to another boat. I expect to see full throttle racing into the Straits. You're going to see some of the modified boats at around 140. It should be very exciting.
All right, coming out of the milling circle, everybody getting ready for the start of this race. Right at the top of your screen is the pace boat. And Greg, how important is a good start to these races?
Ken, it's critical. You've really got to be at the front of the pack, because here's what happens. You can see right now the boats are all in what we call clean water. You're not running in anybody else's wake. Once you get in someone else's wake, you get in the soupy water, which is where it's turning white behind the boats. Very hard to read that water and decide how to set your boat up, and it's very hard to make speed when you're dealing with other people's wakes. So great start, great results is typically the formula, unless you've got a very fast boat that has some kind of edge on your competition, and then you can hang back a little bit and still catch up. But, you know, a couple of miles an hour in a 1 hour race means you're going to be 2 miles behind.
All right, we've got the start, and a good start for M39. How sweet it is, too. They pour on the throttles, and we're underway.
John Peterson not wasting any time testing this modified field. He does have a 32-foot boat. It's lighter than the rest of the boats, which are longer, so he's going to get up to speed faster. We'll see if he can hold that margin for the rest of the day.
And the boat that he probably feels like he's going to be racing against is M7. Let's go on board. Jelly Belly gone again for the start.
Brian Connors and Rick Bowling, lots of time together in this boat, and that's going to pay dividends for them throughout the year. May pay dividends here in Benicia, but you can see communication real important in these boats. You've got to be aware of what each person is doing. It really takes a team to win one of these races.
And not too far behind, here is a 711, the Entrepreneur Magazine Phantom. Greg, tell me about your start. How good was it?
We had a good start, Kent. Kevin Basham and Ron Miller in the Patriot Wave boat just off to the left of us there also had a good start. We kind of pulled out of the box together. And it's really important at the start that you start to pick the line for your turn almost immediately, because you're going to be squeezed by other boats. And John Granis and I are going to be discussing that here. And, of course, you can see we've got a boat immediately to our right. We've got Kevin immediately to our left at about 90-plus miles per hour. Real important that you're aware of your surroundings to avoid any incidents.
Okay, with nobody on our left, this turn is ours. Yeah, there's nobody on your left. All right. I'm going to kind of do a little diving in on it here. Okay, this is pretty gnarly, actually. Yep. All right, here we go. All right, that's good. By the time we come out of this, we'll be in the lead.
Jumping out in front of where the A class is right now, we're on board B75.
B75 is a 33-foot power play, Kent. Now, that's a traditional deep V hull. Not going to be the best setup here in Benicia today, but remember, in B class, every single one of these boats is running the deep V configuration, so the Smolics will be competitive, as they usually are, but flat water, high-speed water, partially salt, we call it brackish. Your most friendly setup is going to be a big catamaran. You're going to see the modified boats flying today, Ken.
And we go from B75 to another B-class competitor, this Pennzoil boat. They look better than they did in our last race, and they don't have many races on Pacific Offshore this year.
That's right, Kent. Dave Rankin, hats off to him. He took a 37-foot Scarab, a 15-year-old hull, actually cut the bottom out of it, put a step in it, tried to make it as modern as he could. Of course, he doesn't have the canopy, but the boat went from running about 80 miles an hour last race to 90-plus this race.
And in one of the production classes, this is L11 from Production 1, Concubine. Henry Olsen, Rodney Chin, Jerry Ellsworth making his racing debut today.
The 30-foot Shadow Cat, Kent. Rodney Chin's had this boat a long time. Henry Olsen in the boat, as well as Jerry Ellsworth. Both trimmed up. It's looking nice, running very straight. Rodney will run it in control. You can see it's a double-step bottom, even though it's an old, heavy boat.
Stay with us. We'll be back with more from Benicia and race number 4 of the 1998 Pacific Offshore Championship Series. Entrepreneur Magazine presents coverage of race number 4 of the 1998 Pacific Offshore Championship Series. And you're getting to see what's out beyond the bridge, and we're seeing quite a performance from Honker Cut Marine.
36-foot skater, Rod and Cindy Kernafel, Honker Cut Marine out of Northern California. This boat running 140 here. Can't take a look. Very little wetted surface. The boat's up out of the water. Rod's really getting the handle on his new entry.
That looks like a very smooth ride. Very smooth ride, usually, for M7. Jelly Belly gone again, even though they are flying.
Here you got Brian Connors and Rick Bowling, probably running about 133 miles per hour. Kent, you know what? Doesn't sound like it's very far away from the 140 that the Honker Cut Marine entry is traveling, but 7 miles an hour in a 1 hour race, and all of a sudden you get lapped. I'm sure Bowling and Connors are not real happy. They're used to dominating this race, but we've got new equipment, new hardware on the water, and it seems to be working real well.
Yeah, M80 looks great. Well, it's not something you'll see that often, really, but let's get Rick and Brian's view of Honker Cut Marine as we head past the bridge. We're now heading toward the end of lap 1.
Playing catch-up, that's not the game they want to play, Kent, but they can still see the wake from the Honker Cut Marine entry. It's early in the race, and taking a pretty good shot at them, really, on the outside. These big cats are always a challenge. It looks smooth and you think it's easy, but you can put a whole revolution, one entire turn on a wheel on one of these catamarans, and the boat may not change direction. At least it may take a while to do it. So you can't rest. They're very twitchy, and at over 130 miles per hour, believe me, it's an exciting ride for these guys.
Well, the shot from the air really says a lot. You can tell how far apart those two modified boats are, and you were mentioning it does look pretty flat out there.
And Kent, M19 running wild. This is Ben and Jason Curtis, a father-son team. They are years and years together, very experienced, but it's not to their liking here in Benicia. Maybe a little down on horsepower. They don't have the speed to keep up with the front runners today. It's a 35-foot motion cat, a little bit heavy perhaps for this smooth water condition. They really come on hard when it's a little rougher, just like John Peterson.
And with the intensity of offshore competition, teams have to be very in tune with their craft. Right now, here's Greg Reisman with this edition of In the Cockpit, presented by Entrepreneur Magazine.
You know, you're sitting at home watching this offshore event, and you're thinking to yourself, why would anybody do this? It looks very difficult, and it is. Let me give you an idea of some of the real sensations that happen in this boat while it's racing. Dave Rankin owns this Pennzoil entry out of Southern California. He's been doing it a long time, and he's good at it. But here's some of the things that he has to deal with while he's out on the race course. Now, this is a center steering boat. I'm in the driver's seat. Got a racing bolster here, and it's real strong, but you know what? It's a lot stronger than your body is, and if you hit this hard enough, you can break or crack something pretty easily, and off of a 6-foot swell at 90 miles an hour, there's a good possibility that you'll do that. Here's another issue. There's no shock absorbers on this boat, just fiberglass, so your legs are the shock absorbers. When you land hard, or maybe you land on the side, that's the only thing that's going to keep you upright. There's another factor. It's the wind. It doesn't sound like a lot, but I can assure you that it is. It's going to rip off your sunglasses. Of course, we're not wearing sunglasses when we're racing. We're forced to strap on this aerodynamically retarded device we call a helmet. At about 70 miles an hour, the helmet starts to twist up this way, wants to rip off your head. At 90, it's even further up, and you end up looking out at just a little corner of it to try to maintain your field of vision. It's very challenging. So you're saying to yourself, Greg, why would anyone want to do this? Just a checkered flag, that's all.
Yeah, John Peterson and M39, how sweet it is, too. He has tasted the sweet fruit of victory earlier in the year and going for it again.
Maybe a little conservative in Benicia, can't remember. He's a racer on a budget, does his own engines, does all the maintenance himself. Benicia will kill your engines. You're running full throttle for a long time, but look, he's putting a pretty good move here on the Curtis family entry, and he could be taking over that position any moment.
When we come back, we'll be taking a look at what's happening at Offshore A and Offshore B, so stick around. Much more offshore excitement on Speed Vision. Stay with us as Entrepreneur Magazine presents coverage of race number 4 of the 1998 Pacific Offshore Championship Series. Entrepreneur Magazine presents coverage of race number 4 of the 1998 Pacific Offshore Championship Series. And we are back at it, and B9 Magic Potion, they're going to have to build some speed to get into the race in B class today.
Rob Storley has never been able to win this race. He lives just outside, right on the hill here, right next to the race course. He's never been able to take home the checkered flag, and believe me, he's not happy about it. Maybe today will be his day.
Rob Storley and family would be very excited about coming out with a win here today. Pretty intense day for them. All right, and Greg, here's a battle that's important to you. A111 in front in Offshore A.
Patriot Wave found some speed since the last race, Kent, and they're doing a pretty good job of keeping the Entrepreneur Magazine at bay. Hopefully it won't be for long, but Kevin Basham and Ron Miller, got to take my hat off to them. They've changed the setup on that boat, and it's improved significantly.
All right, let's hear what's going on inside that cockpit with Greg Reichman and John Granis on board A711.
We're catching them. Right, going out, going out. Oh, let's find that buoy. Okay, there it is.
All right, also in Offshore A, it's A40 IMCO, same kind of boat as yours, but not hanging in there.
Another 30-foot Phantom, Kent. Can't find the speed here in Benicia, but Rick Taylor and Fred Inman Jr., they're masters at changing the boat to make it better. I'm sure they'll do that after this race.
All right, more of the Entrepreneur Magazine Phantom trying to catch A111, but looks like you still could do it.
Okay, here we go. I see him. Here we go, here we go. I got it. Driving through it. All right, baby.
All right, Greg, you mentioned a moment ago the throttleman's not very involved here, but you got to be doing something in a turn.
Absolutely, Kent. In the turn, the first thing I do is I trim the boat down. So I change the angle of the drive. The nose comes down. It digs the boat in. That way, the boat doesn't slide. The back end doesn't come around. We don't spin the boat out in the turn. I also put the tabs down. That will push the nose in even harder. Now you're carving through the turn. That's what we want to do, but not for long. As soon as the boat straightens out, pick the tabs up, trim the drive out, got to make some speed. That's the only way we're going to catch Patriot Wave today.
All right, and we can see that that's exactly what you're doing. We're into the straightaway, and you are gaining on A111 right there.
I got a little respect for Kevin and whoever's driving that boat. They're taking a pretty good path. Yeah, we're doing all right. Let's keep our eyes on our road, huh? What's that? We're doing fine.
Kent, we are catching them. And I'm getting pretty aggressive with the trim. You can see not a lot of wetted surface on our Phantom. I've got the tabs. You can see them on the back, the two black plates. They're about level. Just trying to keep the deck level of the boat. Don't want to have a lot of chine walk. Look at the water I'm spraying out of the ballast tank. That's a 40-gallon water tank in the nose of that boat, 6 pounds per gallon. So that's 300 pounds. I'm dumping it out. I can control that from the throttleman seat. We're chasing down Patriot Wave. It's going to be a good day in Benicia for Entrepreneur Magazine.
Greg, what do you think the front runners and Patriot Wave are thinking about?
Right now, they probably still can't see us, Kent. Remember, you can't turn around in the canopy, but any minute now, they're going to have some lateral vision, and they're going to be able to see the nose of the Entrepreneur Magazine entry coming right up on them. Believe me, they're full throttle. There's nothing else they have to give. We're just chasing them down, so they're going to be a little frustrated, but that boat has really improved since the last race, and I'm sure that they're thrilled to death to be able to run right next to us because we have had good luck with speed with the Entrepreneur Magazine boat, and here you can see there's really not a lot they can do. They're just going to trim her out and see what they can do to keep up with the Entrepreneur Magazine boat.
Yeah, that is really exciting, seeing the nose-to-nose action like that. And not too far behind, A40 IMCO trying to get up there, making a three-way race for first. Greg, Patriot Wave, you're right. They look faster than the last race, the races we've seen them in. What could they have done to change that and get some speed?
Well, it's kind of a one design, one setup boat, Kent. You really can't do much to the FB design drive. It's a fixed shaft drive. It's really not too trimmable. So what Ron Miller and Kevin Basham did was they just tried some different propellers, and believe it or not, they found 5 miles per hour with a different diameter propeller. Pretty amazing, actually, and pretty impressive that they had the foresight to keep playing with the setup until the boat came around.
With the battle there in A40 is running third, and about all they can do is watch the challenge being given by your team to A111 up in front. But I can also see here, as you start to take a little bit of a lead, you're not going to be able to see how close A111 is to you.
That's true, Kent. In a closed cockpit canopy boat, you really can't see what's behind you. Some of the teams utilize rear view mirrors. You can see we don't have any on the Entrepreneur Magazine Phantom. However, we feel like we have good lateral vision out the side window. And I'll tell you something, I'm concerned with who's in front of me. The people that are behind me, they got to be concerned with us.
Stay on it. No mistakes. Got me? Gotcha. No mistakes. Okay, this is our line. See the pin? I don't even want to know. You're driving. Yes, sir. All right, college wakes. Drive out of them. Drive out. Let's go. Beautiful.
That's right. Your 6th grade PE teacher was telling you that when you were running track. Don't look behind you. And there's no reason to. Looking great here in Benicia for A711. Still, a lot of race left to go. And we'll have that racing action for you from Benicia. Stick around and stay with us as Entrepreneur Magazine presents coverage of race number 4 of the 1998 Pacific Offshore Championship Series.
All right. We'll stay in it through the turn. I'll make a big sweeper.
To Benicia. There's L11 Concubine, Rodney Chin, and crew looking like they're enjoying their Sunday ride out here in the Benicia waters. And looking like they enjoy their ride in what looks like kind of an older boat, Phase 2. That's Bob Villa and another Abreu, not Paul like he's ridden with earlier this year. It's Matt Abreu.
Matt Abreu, son of legendary throttleman Paul Abreu, going to get a lot of experience with Bob Villa in a short period of time, and it's also a real short boat. Ken, 23-foot Warlock, can't even race it anymore in the APBA classes, but he's running in local here, having a great time.
And you check the side of this one, it'll say L205. That's Twister there in production 2 today, but really looking to be in a different class.
That's right. It's a 34-foot Phantom out of the Will Smith stable in Sarasota, Florida. Wayne Massey bringing this boat to the West Coast, Kent. Reason it's not in Factory 2 yet is you need 5 boats out of the mold in order to qualify for Factory 2. They call that amalgamation. Strange word for a simple concept. All the boats have to be alike, and you've got to have a lot of them. So that's why they're running in production class. I think you'll be seeing them in Factory 2 before the end of the year.
Now, Twister might not be in Factory 2 in this race, but they're showing the Factory 2 entrance, what they're capable of. And we check out F242. That's Freedom Offshore.
35-foot fountain. Ken's a little bit older entry. You can see it's a non-step bottom hull. They're not going to make the speed that some of the newer high-tech boats are making, but seem to be real competitive, and I'm sure they're going to be battling it out for the lead in Factory 2 today before the race is over.
You know, these guys have made a pretty strong showing in Factory 2 since they came in. Greg, maybe you can describe for us what Factory 2 is.
Ken, Factory 2 is twin-engine V-bottom boats, all running the same engine drive package, which is the Mercruiser Mercury Marine HP 500 with the Bravo stern drive. Really makes it an evenly matched class. All the boats, in theory, identical horsepower. The only thing that's going to make the difference here is setup. So small, little changes, which may be insignificant in the larger classes, are going to have a big impact on the performance of a factory boat.
Matt Grant, Craig Cleaver, and Eric Hammond are the gentlemen who will be trying to make those small adjustments. And, you know, why would anyone want to subject themselves to the rigor of offshore competition? Well, for the answer, we turn to our Racer Profile, presented by Jelly Belly, the original gourmet jelly bean.
It's a funny story because as a kid, I used to watch Miami Vice and just laugh and dream one day, yes, I can drive one of these boats. I don't think I could ever not race. I mean, it's fun, and I enjoy running boats, and we run up in the Delta. I've got a lot of friends with big boats, big offshore boats, and I don't feel as safe going up in the Delta and running around anymore in the bay as I do out here with guys that know what they're doing and people that you could consider professionals.
I've been born and raised on the Delta. All my life I've been around boats. My family had fast boats. Met Chris, you know, seeing him on TV, seeing him being pulled down the freeways on the trailers. It's just something I've always wanted to do ever since I was a little kid. And Chris and I hooked up, like I said, about 4 to 5 years ago through a mutual friend, and we've just become really close. What I like about Pacific Offshore is when you come here, it's, you know, there's still the competition, but we're more like a family. You know, everyone's willing to help everyone else and go out of their way to make it fun for everybody. And I really like it. It's like one big family.
It's a hell of a lot faster than I thought it would be. We got into what we thought was a 90, 95 mile an hour business. We're at 100, 105 mile an hour. And we've learned it's more strategy. It's not necessarily running out front, but running smart.
Since I was a little kid and I was playing soccer, you know, that's what my dad and I did together. Now, you know, as I got older, we didn't really have too much that we went and off and did by ourselves. And now it's something that, you know, 9 times, 10 times out of the year, my dad and I go off by ourselves, and we get to spend time with each other, and we get to race boats, and we get to do something that we both love. And with that part, I mean, I can never give, I mean, just that alone makes it worth it to me, just to spend time with my dad and enjoy something that we both enjoy together.
And from that piece about streak free and B75, we go to factory class now. Factory 1 and Factory 110 Revo doing the job. They've won before. Now Factory 195 trying to give them all they can.
Controlled Chaos. This is the Mission Foods entry, a heavily sponsored boat. Scott Lucero on the wheel, trying to track down the Revo boat. Not too far behind, and that's exactly what we expect to see in factory class. Paul Aber is going to be hard to catch today, Kent.
Peter Donnelly is back in the boat now, Greg. After missing the first half of the season, he's running with Paul Aber. How does it affect a team? I mean, they've been successful when it was Paul and Bob Villa.
It's a big effect, Kent, actually. The driver has a lot more to do with how these boats run than most people want to give credit for. The throttleman's usually the guy who gets all the credit, but I'm telling you right now, a good driver will make or break any particular race. You can see on the Controlled Chaos boat here, Scott Lucero's keeping the deck real level, and that's going to allow his throttleman to trim the boat out, remain full throttle. A little bit of chine walk there. That's going to slow the boat down. You've got to be out, we call it out in front of it. It's just kind of a driving style where you anticipate what the boat's going to do well in advance of when the boat does it. And if you've got a driver that has that under control, he can get out in front of it, probably pick up 10, maybe 15 seconds a lap, and that's huge. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a big difference at the end of a race.
Also in the hunt, F-177, that's Atomic, Something Wicked, Corey Foxon and Al Thoreau.
The 28-foot Warlock, Kent, out of the Warlock Powerboat stables in Southern California, has really dominated this class, this particular hull design. Third place running. This is a brand new team, so that's actually not too bad. They're keeping the boat in contention. They're going to need a little seat time to get up in the winner's circle.
Not going to be in the winner's circle today. F-188 bosom buddies, and better hope that they're still friends after this. They're out of the race.
One of the casualties of Offshore. It's real tough on equipment.
Stay with us. We'll be back with more from Benicia and race number 4 of the 1998 Pacific Offshore Championship Series. Entrepreneur Magazine presents coverage of race number 4 of the 1998 Pacific Offshore Championship Series. Now to Factory 2, and we've got F209. It's Lance Henriksen and Sam Beller in the Ultimate Warlock, and leading their class right now, but they always get a strong run from Team Advantage, F264.
The Advantage Boat Company out of Lake Havasu City, Arizona. That's Harry Christensen and his family. Not used to finding themselves in second place, but we have come to find out that Lance and Sam are real in that Warlock entry. One of the great things about factory class, you're always going to find someone new at the front.
Very competitive. You never know who's going to win from race to race. And, you know, you mentioned earlier that in the factory classes, it's small adjustments. For instance, what kind of propeller do you want on a boat like this?
You're looking for 5,200 RPM out of the Mercruiser HP 500 package, and that's what you try to achieve with propeller diameter and propeller pitch. Most of the factory teams are bringing 10 or 12 different propeller selections, trying them all on the boat, running 5,200 RPM for the majority of the race course is what's going to give you optimum efficiency, going to make the most speed, and it's tough to get right on that number.
Jumping into Factory 3, F314 Ultimate Warlock, there's Carter Reed and Gary Balikian, and they're not running as well as we've seen them go.
That's right, Kent, and this is certainly not indicative of the performance of that Warlock Cat. It's a very fast boat, very evenly matched with the Eliminator. However, I gotta believe there's a mechanical problem on board. You can see the boat's hardly even trimmed up, a lot of wetted surface. Once a Cat sits down in the water like that, your day is over. You're just not gonna make any speed here in Benicia, and looks like they're just out for a Sunday drive trying to finish a race.
Stay with us. We'll be back with more from Benicia and race number 4 of the 1998 Pacific Offshore Championship Series. Benicia M80, Honker Cut Marine.
Boat running flawlessly here in Benicia today. Kent, Rod Kernoffel, Cindy Kernoffel, out of Northern California. Tremendous run for this 36-foot skater. Look at the 100-foot rooster tail from those Arneson drives. Sterling horsepower in the boat. Absolutely perfect today.
This is the latest technology in offshore racing.
Absolutely the latest. Tremendous run. There's Rick Bowling and Brian Connor and their talent. Not too far behind, but you can see Bowling's actually got the boat trimmed down a little bit. It's got to be having some problem. Not real happy about running second. As we know, they're used to being in the lead, but grinning and bearing it for right now.
Not used to seeing helicopters fly faster than his boat does. Usually they're pacing everybody. And that is probably going to open a door for M39. How sweet it is, too. John Peterson pushing it, and after a win a few races ago.
Trying to see what he can break on that 32-foot skater. Ironman Peterson throttles on the floor as usual.
And giving their best, Running Wild, Ben and Jason Curtis. How are they doing today?
The motion's just not making the speed here, Kent, and I'm sure Ben and Jason, being the smart racers that they are just tucking the drives in, running the boat very, very conservative, get some points. Remember, if you don't finish the race, you're not going to win a championship, and they're smart. They've been doing this a long time, and it looks to me like they're just kind of motoring around the course. Keep it in one piece, live the fight another day.
Hey, even if you're going to run conservative, it's not a bad Sunday drive, especially when you get to see things like Honker Cut Marine.
That's right. An absolutely gorgeous run for Rod, in the lead comfortably now, but not backing off. You can see most of the boat out of the water. Aggressive driving style.
Our traditional leaders here, M7 seems to be slowing down even more, Greg.
Kent, you can see the water creeping up to the nose, the boat's falling over, as we call it, and in a catamaran design, that's not what you want. Obviously, a major problem on the Jelly Belly boat. You can see now only one drive running. He's dragging one drive. That's why you see that big rooster tail trying to make it back to the harbor, get off the race course. Brian Connors and Rick Bowling, their day is done.
All right, enough of the disappointment. Back to the thrill, and that's what's going on inside M80. I'm sure Honker Cut Marine into the overall lead. And as the sport of offshore progresses, so do the advancements in high-performance products. With more on that, here's Bob Teague with this edition of Teague's Performance Tips.
Are you one of those guys that's got a Bravo drive on your performance or race boat, and you've got a little more horsepower than the Bravo drive was designed for, and you've twisted a few vertical shafts, maybe twisted a prop shaft, maybe even broken a few gear sets? Well, I've got news for you. This is Bob Teague with this edition of Teague's Performance Tips. Today we're going to talk about all the upgrades that we do at Teague Custom Marine to the Bravo drive. We have developed upgrades that are race proven that will work well in your race application or in your high performance application with excessive horsepower. First, we have a vertical shaft designed at Teague Custom Marine, manufactured to exacting standards. It is a high tough material with induction hardened precision ground splines with a special waist to provide elasticity. Teague Custom Marine has also developed a complete set of heavy-duty, race-proven bearings. We have bearings for the vertical shaft and the whole upper assembly as well. Also at Teague Custom Marine, we have developed that upper gear set that's heavy-duty with a heavy-duty floor and a wider radius non-undercut edge to provide extra strength to prevent the floor from coming out from cone clutch pressures. At Teague Custom Marine, we've been working for many years developing programs to maximize the reliability of the Bravo drive in high horsepower applications. Currently, we have several race teams successfully using Teague Custom Marine drive, such as A11 in motion and all the Eliminator boats that run in the factory classes. You can send us your drive and we'll rebuild it using our custom components to our exacting standards, and we'll ship it back to you for installation on your boat. You'll be surprised how inexpensive Teague Custom Marine is on this program. For more information on this program and all the fine products at Teague Custom Marine, give us a call at 805-295-7000 because we want you to be in the winner's circle too.
Yeah, Greg, it is great to be in Benicia. We're going to step away for a couple of minutes, but don't go anywhere because when we come back, we're down to the final few laps of the Benicia Race the Straits Offshore Grand Prix. Hey, stick around. Entrepreneur Magazine continues to present exciting coverage of race number 4 of the 1998 Pacific Offshore Championship Series. Welcome back to Northern California as Entrepreneur Magazine presents coverage of race number 4 of the 1998 Pacific Offshore Championship Series. Back on the race course today, and you can see far side, left side of your screen, that's B9 Magic Potion, and some of the other competitors have fallen to the wayside. Looks like Rob Storley might finally get his win in Benicia.
That's right, Kent. In fact, all the other B boats have surrendered to mechanical problems, but Rod Storley and the Magic Potion team with Dave Thomas on the throttles, definitely going to get the win in B class today. All he has to do is figure out a way to get to the finish line.
And it looks like A711 is in line to be first among the A boats.
John Grannis and I catching the lead B boat, kind of an exciting thing to do, but got to keep in mind we've got a very high-tech modern boat. Rob Storley, about a 10-year-old hull design, the boat very dominant in its day, but the day is come and gone, Kent, and I think you can see that the A boats running with the B boats.
I'm really happy, though. I've never won in Benicia. I've had second place 4 years in a row, and first place 1998. It's pretty awesome.
And you're giving A111 a test. Patriot Wave trying to catch A711, and they're still having one of their best races of the year.
Not one of their best, Kent. It is their best race of the year. Second place right now, and they're holding it down quite convincingly. A40, the IMCO Marine Quality Products entry. They're trying to catch Basham Miller, but it sure doesn't look like they're going to be able to do it today. They just haven't found the speed they need in these smooth water races to keep up with the front runners.
All right, let me ask you about speed. You're running very well. What kind of speeds are you and John making?
Probably average lap speed in the 90-mile-per-hour range, Kent. Now remember, the world record for straight line speed in A class is about 93, so that's pretty fast in race conditions, and we were real impressed with what the boat was able to accomplish today, thanks to Pete Shea and Entrepreneur Magazine, Dave Olhausen, and all the sponsors, putting together a great package, and it's a nice day in Benicia to win a race.
Kevin Basham in the Fabio Buzzi Fountain. Those guys found some speed. They gave us a real scare at the start. They ran out in front of us for a good lap and a half, and took all our attention. All we had to run them down.
We still have the same overall leader, Honker Cut Marine, having a great day for Rod Kernoffel.
Flawless outing for this brand new boat, Honker Cut Marine, big Sterling horsepower, Rod Kernoffel, Terry Laughlin, the master rigger, setting this boat up, and it looks like he did a perfect job.
Everybody worries where Rick is. The thing about it is that we've put a package together right now that is I don't play cat and mouse. I put it on kill, and what happens is that they got to catch me. And the thing is, if they got the combination to catch me, then they deserve it. You've seen today, it's a new era right now. This boat's coming out, it's strong, it's a new 36. We got some new Arneson drives on it, running little 13-inch propellers, running 140. That's something different, and it turns on a rail.
We're a very consistent second-place boat. We've taken quite a few second places. What our problem was today is that we underpropped the boat. I think so. Yes, we very underpropped. We're running close to 7,000 RPMs out there, and we had a lot more power, but we just had to hold back because we had to save the motors to make it to the end of the race.
Now we expect to see this boat in the winner's circle just about every time. F307 SeaberTech, they have really been something since they started. They started a little late in the year, but they've got a great piece of equipment.
And the boat's got a great attitude, Ken. Of course, Bob Leach on board, many hours in big catamaran designs that his company, Eliminator Boats, builds. So he's got a real advantage sitting in this boat, running it hard. He can see exactly what the design is doing, and that's what we like to see. We like to see the boat builders and the manufacturers getting involved with the sport. Here's a perfect example.
The factory classes are excellent for people to go ahead and entry-level type of boat. It's not so expensive that it puts it out of the realm. But what's interesting is I know several modified drivers in the past that are actually talking about putting some factory boats together because it's a purest sport. It's as even as you can get. There's weight limitations. Every motor is the same. It's sealed. And it just comes down to the actual hull design and the driver and the throttlement. It doesn't get much better than that.
That's right, F209, another example of that. Ultimate Warlock, they are the leaders in Factory 2, and they look like they're going to wrap up a very successful run here in Benicia.
Lance and Sam have to be very pleased. Lance is the production manager over at Warlock. Of course, Sam Beller, the majority owner of the company, racing their product. That's what it's all about. Winning's pretty important too, Kent.
But it was a great water today, even outside of the bridge. It was a perfect conditions, but the boat ran just super well. It's an extremely fast boat, as is the advantage in the eliminators. So the new F classes are extremely fun because you're neck and neck right next to everybody.
I bet we're going to start losing track on how many consecutive races this team wins. F110, Revo, they're doing it again and looking fine in Benicia.
You know, one of the most amazing things about Paul Abreu, who's throttling this boat, is you can take him out of this 28-foot open cockpit boat, put him in a 40-foot canopied skater that runs 160 miles per hour, he'd still be in first place. He's just multitasking talented, a wealth of experience, also one of the nicest guys out there, and deserves a lot of credit for the way this Revo Sunglass entry is running.
Revo has been marvelous in their support. You know, now, boys, I shouldn't say this, and I don't mean to be, but it was referred to as a beautifully prepared Revo boat, you know. So as a crew, we put together, we have a team based on the information that we discussed with Revo, how they wanted things done, and we've been able to have a winning season so far as a result of that. So it's a real cooperative effort, and they've just been marvelous in their support for us.
It was awesome because they were right there on our hip the whole time, and they would be running the outside of us, and then they'd cross over, try to take us on the corners, and we'd beat them to the corner and take the corner, and then just stretch it out down the straightaway. And it was a driving job the whole way. It was a matter of trimming and handling, you know, driving the boat through the corners and down the straightaways at the right speeds to keep ahead. And it was a great race, side-by-side racing. It was awesome.
And in production 4, Bob Villa in the L16 entry, phase 2. First place, are we surprised? No, we're not surprised. Matt Abreu getting a tremendous amount of experience in this Benicia race. Great to see this boat back and back in the winner's circle.
Had Paul's son stick with the Abrews. It was his first race, so he was excited. We were just going to go out and play, and we decided we hung it out a little bit. It was fun. It was fun. And Matt had a great time.
All right, when we return to Benicia, we've got the official results. You'll want to stay tuned as Entrepreneur Magazine presents coverage of race number 4 of the 1998 Pacific Offshore Championship Series on Speed Vision. Coverage of race number 4 of the 1998 Pacific Offshore Championship Series is brought to you by Entrepreneur Magazine, by Jelly Belly, the original gourmet jelly bean, by Teague Custom Marine, your high-performance parts source, by Ettore Products and the Streak-Free Squeegee Guarantee, by Honker Cut Marine, your high-performance boating setter right on the Delta, by Kevin's Quality Marine, professional yacht transportation services, and by Power Tees and Offshore Gear, offshore excitement you can wear. Welcome back to Northern California as Entrepreneur Magazine presents coverage of race number 4 of the 1998 Pacific Offshore Championship Series. Now, with all the excitement of the race behind us, it is time to take a look at our Action Rewind, presented by Ettore Products and the Streak-Free Squeegee Guarantee. Now, this time, there was little question as to who might receive the honors. Without a doubt, it has to go to Rod Carnoffel and John Bias in the M80 Honker Cut Marine. First, working past M39, how sweet it is, too, at the start. And then working to keep M7 Jelly Belly gone again at bay later in the race. Carnoffel and Bias, they make quick work of the course. Their average lap speed well over the 120-mile-per-hour mark. Quite a showing for just the 3rd time in competition for this boat. And that's our Action Rewind presented by Ettore Products and the Streak-Free Squeegee Guarantee. And here are the results and standings. We pick it up, Greg, in production 4.
Production 4, Kent, L13, BMR Racing taking 3rd place. L5, that's Extreme Heat, coming home in 2nd. And L16, Bob Villa and Matt Abreu taking the win in Phase 2.
In production 2 today, first place goes to L205 Twister with Wayne Mozzie, Bill Ray, and Chris Daubert, followed up by L29 Wizard of Oz.
Production 1, Kent, the L2 entry, that's Gary College and Collegewood taking 2nd, and the L11 Concubine with Rodney Chin, Henry Olson, and Jerry Ellsworth taking the checkered flag.
In Factory 3, 2nd place for F314 Ultimate Warlock. The checkered flag goes to F307 SeaberTech Eliminator Bob Leach and Brett Sieber.
Factory 2, Kent, 3rd place F212 Team Eliminator. In 2nd place in Factory 2, the F264 Team Advantage entry, that's Harry Christensen, and F209 Ultimate Warlock, Lance Hendrickson on the throttles and Sam Beller at the wheel, taking the win.
In Factory 1 at Benicia, 3rd place for F177 Something Wicked. Controlled Chaos F195 comes in 2nd, and 1st place, once again, F110 Revo with Paul Abreu and Peter Donnelly.
B-Class Kent, we've got the B6 Pennzoil entry, that's Dave Rankin and Tom Jackson in 3rd place. The Overdose entry, B72 with Darren Maltby, and 1st place, finally, Rob Storley bringing it home in Benicia. Dave Thomas on the throttles of the Magic Potion entry.
In Offshore A today, A40 Imco comes in 3rd. 2nd place to Patriot Wave, A111. And the win, A711 Entrepreneur Magazine, Greg Reichman and John Granis holding on to the flag.
In modified, third place today, Kent, the M19 Running Wild entry. Second place, a hard-fought battle. John Peterson in the House Suite it is, M39. And Rod Kernoffel, Cindy Kernoffel at a Honker Cut Marine in Northern California, the M80. That's your first place boat in modified.
Well, from the Benicia Race the Straits Offshore Grand Prix, a couple of things really stand out. And one is the performance of the Entrepreneur Magazine A711, the Paul Foff Phantom, really running better than I think we've seen it run before. Let me ask you about this one. M80, the Honker Cut Marine, just blew everybody away.
Rod and Cindy Kernoffel bringing back this immaculate prepared 36 skater. It's only a couple races now, but he's obviously got it dialed in, Kent. The boat was running 140 miles per hour down the Straits. Very exciting, big rooster tail from the Arneson surface drives. This is going to be an exciting boat for the rest of the year, and the fans really love it.
Oh, yeah, and Mr. Kernoffel really loved it, too. He was running around here about 180 miles an hour after the race because it's so exciting for him and very exciting for the fans. The factory competition, Factory 1, Factory 2, Factory 3 even, deck-to-deck racing.
Identically prepared HP 500 with the Bravo Drive package, all running the same power. It's real exciting. That's what it's supposed to be. Deck-to-deck racing, boats finishing within a half of a boat length of each other. It's a very fast-growing class as well because it's affordable, and that's what it's designed to do, bring people into the sport. Can't wait to see how this continues to grow and progress. It's just tremendous.
And we hope that we're doing what we're supposed to do, and that is bring you the very best seat in the house or the cockpit as we present offshore racing action. For Greg, I'm Kent. Thanks for joining us. Be with us again as Entrepreneur Magazine presents the 1998 Pacific Offshore Championship Series on Speed Vision.